Hi, I'm Bart Hansen. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the instructions in the video description.
So I emailed you this hand. This is played at Casino Montreal, a 2-5 game
Okay.
with a straddle that's on sometimes, and it's on in this hand.
Okay. Effective stacks?
There are two villains in this hand, one in the small blind and one on the button, and all three of us have around $2,000 in front of us.
Okay. 2,000 Canadian.
2,000 Canadian.
Okay.
The straddle is on under the gun.
Okay.
So I'm in the middle position with 8-9 of hearts. I'm still stacking my chips from a previous hand, so few people limp in front of me, and I also just called $10. The action gets to the button. He's an older, aggressive gentleman, and he raises to $20. The small blind, who's the other villain in this hand, he's a young, tight, aggressive player, calls it $20. Basically, everybody calls it $20, so it's like 7 to the flop.
So I just want to make sure.
$140.
I just want to make sure this is true. So it's a straddle, so it's 2-5-10. Two people limp in. You over limp mid position with 8-9 of hearts. The button min raises to 20, like a min raise to 20.
Yeah.
After like four
Yeah.
people that limp, that in itself is really strange, right? Like to see that, like unless he's
Right.
trying to induce like the straddle as some sort of spaz artist, right? To like make a three better. He's trying to induce some sort of like limp re-raise, but. You know, in general, nowadays, I think I've changed my game up a little bit where I try to get these hands a little bit more shorthanded. I would probably have raised a fair amount over 2 limps with your hand, although I know in straddle pots people play like a lot tighter, so they might have hands that they normally would have raised with, but they're just calling because the game is a little bit bigger. That's if the straddle's not on all the time. But okay, so we're going to see this multi-way, 7 ways, min raise on the button. All right, what's the flop?
Yeah, the guy on the button had like overvalued his hands before, so not sure if he knew exactly what he was doing, but he min raises, and total 7 people get to the flop.
Yep.
We flop a straight with Jack 10-7 rainbow.
Okay.
The action checks to the button again.
Yep.
Who bets $40 into $140.
So
the small blind.
One quick thing about that. So button bets 40 just before you get on. Like if I was in your spot here in a hand like this, I'd almost consider this almost like a bomb pot. Now, people's ranges aren't entirely uncapped, but whenever you get this dynamic of like a min raise and you get a board where unless the guy is totally clueless, unless he has an overpair or a jack or better, he's really not supposed to be c-betting. When you get an extreme scenario where it's super multi-way, and I mean by super multi-way like more than 4 people in a hand, especially this bullshit with the guy min-raising on the button, so we don't even think he's got a real hand a lot of the time, I would not naturally check to the pre-flop raiser, which is what a lot of people do. I think this is different. It's almost like it's a limp pot. Now, if it was a limp pot and you flop the nuts and you want to check, then fine, but just don't naturally check to the pre-flop raiser. Because the pot's built up, and I think this is going to get checked through some more, I would probably err towards just leading the flop because I think it's going to get checked through so much. But that's just my 2 cents on this. So he bets 40. Gets checked to the button. He bets 40 into 120. Okay.
Yeah, and small blind calls.
Yep.
And I just called. So, yeah, I thought about raising, but this guy, as I said, had previously, overvalued his hand, so I was expecting him to bet again. So my plan was to raise the turn, irrespective of what it was. So it's 3 players to the turn now.
So the button bets 40, the small blind calls, and you call. This is, again, just one of these ones where I don't think I would really slow play this. You can raise small because there's going to be so many cards. I feel like that even if you have to overlay the fact that the button, first of all, he has a hand now, and that there aren't going to be cards that are going to scare him. Now, yes, if you get a 5, if you probably get a 6 or below, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that could be like half the deck. I mean, you're gambling on some card coming that's not going to kill action, and that includes board pairs here too, right? An 8 and 9 is going to
Right.
kill action. Maybe a queen or a king is going to kill a fair amount of action, and ace brings in king queen. Middle pair, top card sort of kills action. I've seen these spots so much that I just start to get money in now. If people are going to put money in now, you could make it like 150 or something. But okay, you call as an overcall as a slow play. All right, what's the turn?
Yeah, yeah, and with the plan to raise the turn, there's a $260 in the pot. The turn comes a 6, so it's a full rainbow now.
Okay, so you do get one of the non-action card killer cards, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
The action again checks to the button who bets $80 this time. And the villain, the small blind, raises to $275.
So,
and the action is on me now.
So 80 to 26. So 80, and he raises to
275.
And you guys start with 2K effective. Well, that's interesting because the small blind should really have a strong hand here. I mean, the 6 doesn't really change anything, right? Like he shouldn't have like 7-6 calling next to act here because there's the again, even like the worst players like in the world, when you look at this, because it's sort of this super multi-way dynamic, check to the button, he bets. The small blind is not going, even if he's the worst player in the world, he's not going to call a 7-6 with 6 people left to act behind him. So he should have flopped something strong here, right? Like there's nothing that changes the 6. The 6 doesn't change anything here based upon this configuration.
Right.
So I would probably tend to I think that if you call the check raise cold, it might even be stronger than just putting in a 3-bet. I mean, it's hard to fuck this hand up, right? Like you've got the nuts. You know, if you've got a guy behind you that you think is going to come in, you know, you could sometimes continue to play it this way. But when you cold call a check raise here, it's super strong. When you 3-bet a check raise on the turn, it's obviously very, very strong. And then, you know, it's a question of, is somebody going to hero fold like Jack 10 here or a set? But usually I would err towards just getting more money in with a nut hand so that we can get more money in and have a bigger pot so that we don't have to gamble on some sort of clean river coming out. And again, like when you cold call a check raise on the turn, it's not like there's 2 combo draws out there where you can have a draw. Like you basically always have like Jack 10 plus here, right? You know what I'm saying? When you cold call. So I don't know how disguised
my confusion. My confusion mainly was which one of those two will look stronger if I, if I 4-bet or if I just flat call. I obviously thought that if I flat call, the button would just come along, was probably, or might even like overshove if he has a hand like Jack 10, thinking he's really good here and everybody else is on a draw.
You think that the button's going to have Jack 10 betting 40 and then he's going to overshove a cold call check? First of all, I think he's going to bet way more than 40 on the flop, but that's a very, very, very small part of his range. What did you do? Did you call?
I did call, yeah. So I did call, and the button also calls. So he doesn't shove, but he just calls. So it doesn't raise, he just calls.
Because the button could have like king queen here. I mean, that could be some sort of hand that he might have, which would be like, you know, a draw. And again, it's like a min raise. So you guys have put in 825 on the turn. So the pot is what, like about 1100, right?
1,008. Yeah, around 1100.
Okay.
Yeah. So the river comes 7.
So pairs the board.
Pairs the board, yeah.
Yep.
Small blind leads out for $575. And it's back on me again.
Wow, this is interesting. I think you could. You got the big blind behind you that called the check raise. Small blind has check raised the turn and is now leading for 575 into like 1100. So the pot is 1100. So wow, that's got to be like one of the worst cards in the deck for you, because if the guy, well, I mean, a jack or a 10 would be the worst card in the deck, but the thing is that it's not like the small blind is going to like fire 575 here with jack 10 on a 7 turn. I don't feel like, unless he's totally clueless. I might make a tough fold here, man. I think that you're probably tying or beat based upon what just happened here. I mean, it sucks, but and you've got to deal with the guy behind you too.
Right. So I did think about what the small blind could have. I mean, you were saying he can't have 6-7. I did think that he maybe can have 6-7. He maybe can have pocket sixes just because the flop bet was so small that he felt that he should probably call. And obviously in that case, he has a boat now. But like in some cases, I thought that if I just call his 575 and the button raises, and then obviously the small boat goes all in, I can fold and get away from this hand.
Well, if you call the 575 and the button raises, the guy doesn't need to move all in for you to fold. I mean, you can just fold right then and there. You know, if you call 575, the button raises, is an easy fold. I still think I might fold here, and it's because there's a guy behind you here too. So you have to beat the small blind and also the guy behind you. What ended up happening? You called?
I did call, and the button shrug calls, and they both have Jack 10.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So you scooped a huge pot.
I did, but I did get a little bit confused because the small blind was saying that he should have lost his entire stack here, which obviously on the 7, I don't think that would be the case, but I did feel like there was something for me to think about there where the small blind had $900 behind. If I shove, assuming that he doesn't have a set, if I shove and get called like half the time, I almost make the same amount of money if I flat call and the button shrug calls. So I wonder, like you're saying now that you would fold some of the times in this case, but I wonder if there is a way for us to balance figuring out if we could make $575 from the button over calling or getting the small blind to call the shove with the worse hand.
No, you can't shove. No, you can't shove here. That's a way. Listen, if I'm thinking about folding here on the river based upon this action, then you can't. Shoving is going to be the worst. It's going to be the worst scenario because you still have to deal with the guy behind you too, right? Like it's hand strength. It's not. I mean, Jack 10 here as played is pretty ludicrous. And again, you know, sometimes I'm guilty of giving my opponents too much credit, I guess. But I mean, when you cold call a check raise on the turn, you cold called a check raise on the turn. This guy's going to continue to bet Jack 10, and a guy called behind you. This guy's going to continue to bet Jack 10 for value at the end. That's absurd. Yeah. It's absurd. That's why, like I said, well, I mean, maybe I would fold, but I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, congratulations on scooping the whole pot, but I think that definitely calling is better than raising.
Okay.
And I might.
Yeah, it makes me.
Yeah. So, anyways, thanks.
I'm glad you don't think that this was a race. Thank you.
No, definitely not. No, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.